So first off, I always thought it was weird that when Mr. Rogers entered his home and took off his work shoes, he always put on a pair of, like, inside shoes. Maybe that's just some old school thing that I'm not aware of, but I'm not into wearing shoes inside. I just don't think that house shoes are necessary. I believe in barefoot or socks or slip-slips. Secondly, if you were wondering, did the Mr. Rogers movie make you cry? Yeah. Cried a lot. With people all around me. Fuck it.
It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine?
The plot! This is the story back in the 90s of a writer for Esquire magazine writing a profile piece on the one and only Mr. Rogers, and the effect that Mr. Rogers had on his life personally. And shit gets sentimental. Matthew Rice! He plays Lloyd Vogel. He's a cynical writer that's very talented, but he's also very troubled, and he's at a very low point in his life. He gets an assignment to write a profile piece on Mr. Rogers, and it changes his life forever. I thought Matt did great. His performance and reactions to Mr. Rogers really got through to me, and I sympathized a lot with his character. Tom fucking Hanks as Mr. fucking Rogers. My God. I recognized Tom Hanks for about 5 seconds before he completely transformed into Fred Rogers. It was unbelievable. Unbelievable. This movie's not really about Mr. Rogers, but seeing him and the methods that he uses and realizing this as an adult just woke me the fuck up. Mr. Rogers helped kids process and understand things like anger and death and war. And while my childhood just seeped back into my brain and this was all clicking for me, I got really emotional. Tom Hanks, again, amazing job. Amazing. Overall, I thought this movie was absolutely wonderful. It's like a breath of fresh air. They set this movie up like a Mr. Rogers episode. It's so creative. The acting is fantastic. I loved these characters. Real life people too. But characters, but real life. After I saw this movie, it was brought to my attention that the director intended for you, while you're watching the movie, to reflect on your own life and the world. And that's exactly what happened to me. And there was some stuff in this movie that really hit close to home. This movie made me feel shit. I did have an issue with a very specific 5-minute chunk of this movie. I thought it was totally out of place, and once that scene was over, it took me a little bit to get back into what I was watching. Just cut that scene out, and we're good to go. Also, if you're too young to know Mr. Rogers and know his show, then the movie probably won't be as impactful for you as it was for me. Other than that, I totally recommend it. I think it's great. Go see it. Rapid fire review. Subscribe.